Hey everyone, welcome to another GameXplain discussion. I'm your host, Derek Bittner, and I'm joined today by Ash Paulson as well as Thomas Arnold. And once again, no Andre, he's still off in Disneyland. He doesn't care about Sony, let's be honest.
Yeah, he's not the biggest PlayStation gamer, I guess.
Not really. I mean, we have had him play some PlayStation VR, at least at his place, but who knows if he'll really get into it. But yeah, right. This isn't really his thing. We're more the multi-platform gamers than he is. So yeah. Right off the bat, what'd you guys think of Sony? Tom?
Well, it was definitely very rapid fire compared to the Microsoft conference the other day. Personally, I felt there were more games that I wanted to play from this event. However, it wasn't like last year's Sony conference where there was a lot of huge games. And still, some of these games came back and, it didn't have the same impact as it did last year, in my opinion.
Yeah, I feel a lot the same way. I mean, there were quite a few games I want to play there, and that's cool. But in terms of the games they showed, I felt like we really saw a lot of what we saw last year. It didn't feel like there was a whole lot new that they announced. And what they showed was really cool, but it just felt almost like, a slightly different repeat of last year in a way, which is strange. And so in that sense, I was actually left feeling a bit underwhelmed in a sense.
Yeah, and that's sort of the strange feeling that I got as well. Like, I'm sitting there, I'm enjoying it all, but it all ended, and I reflected upon it. I was like, most of that we saw last year. And I had that worry going into this because a lot of the games that they showed off did not come out. And now that's time, and we're really seeing the weakness now of showing something so far in advance that you get that tease, but now we got nothing else to show, it seems, as far as any further, and we're just getting more details on these games. Now, granted, these games look fun to play. I'm interested in playing a lot of them, but yeah, it just felt underwhelming in a way. I don't feel underwhelmed, but it felt underwhelmed. It's a weird thing.
Yeah, it's just that there wasn't like that one big talking point I felt that was just like the big surprise. I mean, Monster Hunter World, that was a cool surprise.
Yeah.
But that was also leaked before the show.
Was it? I didn't hear about that at all.
So, not leaked to actually appear at the conference, but its existence. Like, it was a trademark that was leaked. Like, Capcom files a trademark for Monster Hunter World. So,
did they say it was on PS4?
No.
Okay, so I think that in itself is a huge deal, though.
Although there had been other leaks prior to that about how Monster Hunter 5 might be on PS4, while Monster Hunter Portable, the new one, goes to Switch.
Double cross, yeah.
So double cross, right? So some of this stuff was shown, but on the other hand, Shadow of the Colossus is getting a new remaster, and that was an awesome surprise.
Yeah.
So it's weird. Like, there were cool surprises, but I am still feeling slightly underwhelmed, mostly because I think we watched mostly games that we saw last year.
Yeah. So, well, let's break it down. Let's start with Monster Hunter World, because none of us here are huge Monster Hunter fans. We know the demand for these games are huge. They really come into their own over the years. But it's really funny how it did sort of gravitate towards portable gaming and became sort of the hotbed for it. Like, this is where they normally were, even though I do remember when the original Monster Hunter came out on PS2. And it was sort of like, it's a return to the old days. And I gotta say, even not being a Monster Hunter fan, I liked all the cool tricks. Like, I don't remember there being like a grappling hook or anything like that. And like all the traps that he had set up beforehand. Like, I thought that was still a really impressive trailer that showed Monster Hunter evolving while also being very true to its roots. But again, that's from an outsider's perspective.
Yeah. I mean, same here. I saw a bit of what you're talking about, like with the traps. I thought it was really cool that they, the hunter had tied down that T-Rex looking monster with vines.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that was really cool. The environments were stunning. The environments, the way the monsters look, really, really cool stuff. I mean, there's a little janky animation. You can totally tell that it's a work in progress. But hey, it's a work in progress, and that's fine. So while I did notice a few, some off animations and some weird stuff, hey, I mean, it's a work in progress, and I mean, it looks like it really does bring the world of Monster Hunter to life in a new visual style, and it really looks stunning.
Yeah, it looked fantastic. I love the T-Rex-like character that was chasing him through the tunnel.
Under the gas, that was cool.
That looks really fun. I mean, that guy should have a little mirror on the side of him, say objects in the mirror, close to the mirror.
Yeah. They even had this cool bit, like, again, I'm not sure if this has happened in past games, but having one monster fight another monster.
Right.
Like, that's cool. Like, there's some really neat concepts in here. But I'm still not sure, like, I have a feeling, like, because I've played a little bit of Monster Hunter, and I appreciate the ideas, but it's just never been enough to hook me.
Yeah, I don't think, at least based on what we saw, I don't know if it's enough to sway me, just because I've never really been into, like, Monster Hunter's style of combat, and just the whole, like, you know, Monster Hunter is a game that really just never ends. It's almost MMO-like in that sense, and I just tend to gravitate away from games like that because that's just not my thing. But it definitely does look like, you know, for Monster Hunter fans, it seems like it's trying to do enough of the old while also expanding the scope of the world and the visuals. And so we'll see how it turns out. But, you know, 2018, a lot of games that we saw were 2018.
Yeah, it was either... Yeah, actually, you're still right. There's still a lot of them coming out 2018. What do we... Is there anything we really know that's coming out 2017? Like, I don't remember a lot of release dates being flashed on the screen.
Not as many as at the Xbox conference. Yeah. I remember that the Horizon Zero Dawn DLC, that's 2017.
Yeah.
NBC Infinite, of course, is 2017.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of like a lot of the big upcoming Sony exclusives, I think they're mostly 2018.
Yeah, which is very strange, a little worrying, but 2018 will be a strong year. And Sony has had a pretty strong year to begin with. So.
Right, I mean, you know, they've already been coasting on Horizon and stuff, so it's not like it's, you know, it's not like 2017 has been a bad year or a dry year for them, but it is a little slightly concerning to see so little new after a whole year.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like, they started off the show with Uncharted: The Lost Legacy. We got to see some real gameplay of it, a better idea of what's going on, and that's coming out, I think, this summer. So
yeah, I think August or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that is coming very soon.
Right.
And, you know, you and I are both big Uncharted fans, and I'm sold. Like, I'm looking forward to that adventure. It really seems to be focusing on Chloe and finally giving her some real character development.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing the interplay and the character interactions between Chloe and Nadine, and really learning more about Nadine. I feel like Nadine was a somewhat underutilized character in Uncharted 4, and I'm really looking forward to seeing more of her, and I'm kind of excited about the fact that, you know, these aren't just like buddy characters like Nate and Sully. Like, I feel like Chloe and Nadine are just as likely to try to kill each other as work together, and we got to see some of that, you know, that clashing and enmity in the trailer, and I'm excited about that, to see where it goes.
Mm-hmm. And they're really expanding upon the a partner program that they had with the original, with Nate's brother.
Sam,
thank you.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
I know.
But yeah, it was Sam there where they worked together, and you're seeing that once again here with Chloe and Nadine. And I have a feeling they're probably going to be expanding upon that somewhat, and that might be more of a focus.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's probably how they're going to further the co-op stuff, or the partner character stuff from Uncharted 4. And I'm just looking forward to seeing, like, you know, how is their relationship going to be different at the end of the game from what it is in the beginning? Like, are they going to grow to hate each other even more, or are they going to become, like, friends over the course? Like, I'll be curious to see.
Or just sort of a begrudging respect.
Or, like, begrudging respect. Like, there's so many different ways this relationship can go, and I'm curious to see which one they choose.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely Naughty Dog again. You know, one of the best developers in the world, in my opinion. Definitely looking forward to it. Now, granted, that punch in the cutscene, that could be one of those plot twists where they're pretending to fight.
No,
the bad guys,
true,
bad guys,
true.
You know?
That could be.
Yeah,
it easily could be that.
Yeah.
Now, one thing you mentioned is something we didn't see here. They didn't show off any of The Last of Us 2.
Yeah, which I have to say, that kind of surprised me. I was expecting, you know, not a full gameplay demo, but I thought maybe like a little teaser or something. Mm-hmm. But maybe it's just not time yet. Maybe they were like, you know, we have enough that we feel really confident in. We're going to hold that back for next year. But I do feel like we're going to see more of The Last of Us Part 2 before E3. I feel like maybe PlayStation Expo this year, PAX maybe, but I don't think it's going to be a full year.
I can't see them using PAX because it feels
probably
like
not.
This is something they want, like, the biggest of the biggest.
It's more likely PlayStation Expo.
Yeah, PlayStation Expo for sure.
Yeah.
I think that feels like a safe bet. And
yeah.
I'm curious to see how that goes. But next up, they showed us, well, you mentioned Horizon Zero Dawn, and as somebody who's been playing through it, you were immediately excited for this, and it seems like it might be the same world, just at winter. I'm not familiar enough with the game.
So I'm only about 20 hours into Horizon so far, so I don't know exactly how the ending affects, you know, whatever we saw in that trailer. But props to Guerrilla Games. I have to say, they could easily have gone the spoilery route, but they didn't for those of us who have not gotten to play it yet. So I didn't feel like, you know, other than the fact that Aloy's in the trailer, so, you know, obviously she doesn't die. But, like, other than that...
Or this could be a sort of, like, in between.
Yeah, but, like, so I feel like I wasn't spoiled on anything, even though I haven't finished the game, which I thought was really cool. But you guys know me. I love my wintry wonderlands in video games. I love icy regions, and this seems to be an entire chunk of Horizon story that takes place in an icy region. So I am super excited. I'm loving Horizon, and I will get this DLC day one whenever it drops. So...
Yeah, you got that crazy spiral cloud around that mountain, you know?
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah. So that's obviously what she's going to go up against. And I'd like to point out how Ash said he didn't look at the screen, so he believed me when I said she had a eye patch at the end.
I was thinking some sort of like digital, because she wears a focus, so she has like
okay.
this digital thing on her ear. So I thought maybe she had some,
Some gear, like
the solid eye system.
Yeah, so basically, like, I was carefully watching, but then when I heard Aloy, I'm like, I better not look just in case. So I didn't see, so I totally did believe you. It was great. Yeah.
Tom's a jerk.
Yeah, right?
No, it's cool. I haven't played it yet, but now I'm like, should I hold off now just because we might see a complete edition?
Yeah,
somewhere
like
down
a
the
Game of the
line.
Year edition or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that wouldn't be a bad choice for me to wait for now. But again, there's so much coming out.
Too much.
So
you're only going to be busier, Derek.
Yeah, that seems to be the case. But yeah, I like what they showed. I mean, it's a beautiful game. I've heard amazing things about it, Horizon. So it's something I can see myself playing eventually. So
yeah,
we'll see. But next up, they actually showed us more of Days Gone. And none of us were impressed after the first trailer they showed last year. Where it was something going on. It kind of looked a little bit reminiscent of Last of Us. And then all the zombie horde showed up, and then it was just shooting zombies, shooting zombies, mowing them down where you couldn't even see an effect. And it was impressive because there were so many characters on the screen, but it did nothing for me. This trailer was a lot better.
Definitely. Like last year, I felt Days Gone. It just felt like generic. I think even I said like, "Oh, Days Gone," and so am I. Which I didn't feel that way this year. Like I was actually like, "Is this Days Gone? Okay, I'm gonna settle in and really enjoy this," and I did. Like it was a lot more intense than last time. I feel like if it's possible, it feels like they've ratcheted up the violence even more in this game. Like that was a brutally violent trailer, which I mean, you would expect that from a zombie game, but even just like the way the bandits, I guess, or whatever, set up that cable.
Oh no, that was visceral. When
that
he
was
got
visceral. He was like coughing and like it sounded like he really like was going through the kind of pain.
Hell yeah,
that really happened.
This is to be clear, a cable that was pulled across the road after when he was on a motorcycle. So not just like running along or anything.
No, and I was like, wow, okay, so I really like those coughing effects that he was doing as you recover from that situation. And like even the fight with the bandits, like when he like shanks them, and it just feels like a very viscerally violent game, but it looks so much better than last year.
Yeah. I mean, I have much more of an interest this time around. Maybe open world. It's hard to really say. I'm not quite sure the structure of it, but it still could be interesting. And I really feel like that moment in the trailer where he got to the treehouse, for lack of a better word, where his friend was being held. And I could totally see you opting not to use the zombies in order to get to them. I could totally see you trying to make your way there on your own and stealth kill them. Also, props for showing me something I've never seen before, where you set a bear trap in the grass, sneak off to somewhere else, and then lure them to the grass. I don't know if I've ever seen that before. And that was really cool.
I don't know if I've ever seen a zombie bear before, and that was cool. I'm like, that's a zombie bear, and he's huge, and he's like frothing. Like, okay, I'm down with zombie bears.
And you can obviously see how much crap he's taken over the years.
And I'm like, okay, this is pretty, I'm liking this,
Well, maybe this is the year of giant bear enemies. I mean, that Metro game had a giant bear.
It did.
Now we have the zombie bear. Maybe there's going to be some sort of weird Mario bear in Mario Odyssey tomorrow.
I mean, what bear could be? I mean, the only bear I could think of is Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah, right. I know. Yeah. It's funny, too, because I actually hadn't noticed this before you pointed it out to me, because I was just kind of lost in the trailer. But props to Sony for their production values at the conference this year.
Yeah.
They actually had, like, people hanging, like, like, obviously fake people hanging from
I think it was fake, because they had at one point where they moved.
Oh, were they moving?
Yeah,
so they're actual they're, like live people.
They
That's
did that
crazy.
whole thing where it looked like they were limp, and then the one, so you thought they were dummies, and the one guy was, like, going all
That's
around.
So
and
good.
It was like, I don't know if this like was obvious for the people watching at home, and I did see somebody mention how they kept cutting back to the audience after every single trailer.
That's too bad.
And I'm not quite sure what the effect of that was, because for us the production values were so good. Like there was like this spectacle to just every single demo, because they had something going on the sides along the screen at all times, whether it's hanging zombies or snow falling or like fireworks going off as for certain things, fire shooting
those
up.
flashbangs going off during Call of Duty. I like popped up in my seat. They were so loud.
Really loud.
Like, really.
The fire, you could feel the heat at the concert.
So I mean, yeah, that props to them for their production values because they really like had that cool falling snow and the people. And that was great. So I hope that you guys at home got to see that too because it was worth it.
Yeah, and as for Days Gone, I mean, last year, because it's kind of a write-off, like, not interested, but this year it felt much more focused, especially, like, planting a bomb on the gate to let the zombies attack all those guys and then get to the treehouse. I mean, it looked a lot more interesting than what it was last year. Last year was just, like, generic zombie game. This year more focused. I could see it being not open world with just sort of linear, kind of wide open areas, but, yeah, definitely intriguing now.
Yeah, and actually, I'd be okay with if that was the case, like a wide linear type, because we're, everything is going open world right now. So, if Days Gone wants to have a specific identity as a zombie game that isn't open world, and story driven and linear and focused, I'd be down with that actually.
Yeah.
So
I'm curious how it's going to go, but it definitely has my attention much more now than it did before.
Me too.
Yeah.
So, props to that. I mean, I think that. Not to go off on a tangent, but I think that's also why it's so hard to rate Sony for this, because again, we saw it before. This is nothing new, but it was so much better presented.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But after that, we got
Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah, Shadow of the Colossus. I was trying to read down the list that we had there. It was like covered.
Yeah.
But yeah, Shadow of the Colossus Remastered, which we did mention, and as soon as they showed the castle and the huge bridge. I'm like, this is Shadow of the Colossus, isn't it? And you get to see those visuals and how clean it looks, and but it still feels like Shadow of the Colossus, and I want it. I want it so much.
I mean, this is the third game now, or third time this game has been released, or the second time it's been remastered, because it was remastered on PS3.
Yeah.
And now we're getting it again, but if there's any game that deserves that, Shadow of the Colossus is certainly it, and I cannot wait to play through this game again. I mean, Shadow of the Colossus is one of my very favorite PlayStation games of all time. Preaching to the choir, I'm sure. And but I don't know if I can handle seeing that ending again. I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can just go through that again. That just tore my heart.
Look away.
Yeah, just tore my heart out the first time.
Now, do you think? I wondered this. I wonder if it's going to be kept very close to the original, or if they might add in like secret hidden colossi or something like that.
Yeah,
I could see that.
Yeah, I could too. I mean, I feel like Shadow of the Colossus, the original, was one of those games that was really dogged by like internet rumors and things like, oh, dude, I found this secret location and this, maybe there's a secret. I see this thing way off in the distance that you're not supposed to get to. Maybe there's a secret Colossus, stuff, or urban legends and rumors.
Yeah.
I hope they capitalize on that with at least maybe one secret Colossus. Like, I feel like there's a balancing act here. If you add too much, then it becomes something that it wasn't before.
Yeah.
There's something about Shadow of the Colossus's minimalism that I love.
Yeah.
But, something a little bonus extra content, but let's not change it too much.
Yeah, exactly. And it's even kind of hard to add extra colossi because it ties into the story so much.
Yeah. I mean, even if they don't do like extra colossi, I would like to see maybe like for fans of the original game who've spent hours and hours exploring that world, there's so many places that you don't need to go but can just to explore, and I would like to see them add little nooks and crannies for people who have explored the world, and maybe be like they go back and like, oh, there's actually something here now, and that would be kind of cool, little Easter eggs.
Yeah. You go somewhere and you find the bones of a Trico or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Something something neat. Yeah, something kind of just for the fans like that.
Yeah.
And I'm saying like it reminds us of the old one, but it definitely wasn't running at 15 frames a second.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah.
If only for that. Oh goodness. But the next game they showed off is something near and dear to Ash's heart. We finally got to see some more Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, and something I almost didn't realize at the time. There was no gameplay shown, as far as I can tell, or
almost,
very little.
I think that was their answer to like Injustice 2. I think they were like, hey, Injustice 2, you guys love that story mode. It's been getting so much positive press for that. We have a story mode too, and who knows how well it'll end up comparing. But I jumped out of my seat. Not only is Zero, he looks like he's Maverick. Is this Maverick Zero? If X fights him in a cutscene, I will lose my mind. But the Mega Man X fan in me is just, all my bells are going. I've never thought I would see this happen. Like, X and Zero, HD, full 3D, they're going to fight. I don't know. Sigma's probably going to use Zero against. I can't even. I'm so excited. And I know they showed off new characters like Arthur and Dante, Gamora, Thanos. That's all cool. X and Zero. That tells me Zero's DLC as well, which means I may actually get to make my team of X and Zero. So, and we heard him talk.
Yeah,
we heard X's voice. He sounds like he should. I'm so relieved.
I didn't. It was a little hard to hear, but
yeah,
is it the same voice actor or somebody new?
My guess is it's probably someone who sounds like him, because the original, the voice actor for X and X8 and some of the later X games was Mark Gatha, who literally decided he was done with voice acting and went to be a doctor in Norway or something. He literally fell off the radar. So I doubt it's him, but the point is they got someone who sounds like him, and X sounds like he's supposed to. They didn't make that horrible mistake. I was scared they do the Mega Man X4 kitty voice. No, they did their research. I'm happy. So yeah.
No, it looked stupid fun is how I would describe that story mode. It was ridiculous, like that scene at the end with Rocket holding Ebony and Ivory.
Yeah.
It was okay, I see what they're going for. At least we're gonna have fun with this mix-up and how they're sort of going for it. And the other thing that sort of confirmed is every one of those characters shown was part of that leak.
Yeah, so it does seem like maybe that leak is real. Of course, we can't say for sure, but as far as I know, there were no characters revealed that were not in the leak.
Yeah.
So, but that might mean that we get Zero and Sigma in the first round of DLC. Who knows?
Maybe.
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
One thing I will say before we move on is Chun-Li did not look... Her face. There's something about Chun-Li's face in her model for MVC Infinite. I don't know. Something about the way some of the human characters are designed in this game, like Ryu, Chun-Li.
Yeah.
I'm not feeling it. It's a bit off, right? Yeah.
Yeah. That's the thing. I'm excited for Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, but there's a lot of small red flags.
It's weird. I mean, and I feel like X gets characters like X get a pass because even though he's human looking, he's anime stylized, obviously. But the more realistic humans, Ryu and Chun-Li, there's something weird about him.
A little bit.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure how to put my finger on it, but kudos on Capcom for releasing, or not yet as far as this as of this discussion as we're recording right now, but releasing a story demo.
Yeah, the story mode demo. Please, please, please let X be playable. Please let X be playable. Please. Oh, I'm so excited.
Ash needs it. He needs his fix. Get it to him. Hook it to his veins.
You guys, obviously only Derek and Tom can see my actual physical reactions, but I'm cannot sit still. I'm so hyped right now. So just if there's the visual you need, I am so excited.
Yeah. Now, do you have any connection to Marvel vs. Capcom, Tom?
Well, when I had Dreamcast, I had Marvel vs. Capcom 2. That's the one we played the most. And I did have 3, but we didn't actually play it as much. We ended up mostly playing with my friends Street Fighter 4. So at this point at the show, I'm interested to play the new Dragon Ball game and Marvel vs. Capcom. Just to see which one I feel is going to be playing better.
Nice.
That is going to be a hard one because
that's going to mean. Well, is it though? I mean, I feel like at least the early response on the internet is that Dragon Ball is by far the darling here. That MVC Infinite has kind of an uphill battle to climb in terms of impressing people.
Yeah, I think that's because there's so much more expectation.
Exactly.
On Marvel.
Yeah, but this is us watching video. It's not actually us playing the game and see how it feels. So let's give them that benefit of the doubt. But
yeah, absolutely.
Oh, totally. I think the biggest...
I hope both is good. Both are good, honestly.
Oh, me too. And I mean, I do think MVC Infinite gameplay-wise, I think it's going to turn out to be great. I don't think it's going to disappoint. But I think that roster leak really hurt the hype because, I mean, if we're being honest, the Marvel side really isn't that great right now. And the Capcom side's fine, but it's, I think it's such an MVC3 heavy roster right now that I think it's they just the hype isn't quite there for the roster yet.
I mean, I'm very surprised. I knew Bionic Commando, the modern
Spencer,
Bionic, I knew he was going to be in it, but it still feels like, especially when that game bombed, that he's actually in it.
Yeah, and I feel like they're kind of I feel like they could be doing these character reveals and getting more out of them, because if you look at the Smash hype cycle, they got 2 years of hype out of every character reveal, whereas now I just feel like they reveal 3 or 4 new characters in a trailer and don't really actually spotlight them. They're just oh, hey, they're in here too.
Exactly. It was a lot of background where you didn't get it was really blink and you miss it for most. Doctor Strange, Nova. I'm trying to keep track of what did they reveal before, what did they reveal after.
And even MVC3 they had their character reveal days, where they were okay, we're revealing a new Capcom and a new Marvel character, and it got the hype cycle going. So I don't know why they're not.
There's something. Yeah, exactly. There's something a little off about the marketing here.
Yeah. But, I mean, I'm still super excited, and I still have my collector's edition X statue pre-ordered, so, I can't believe I get to play as him soon. Oh, I'm so excited.
Well, is it a 2017 release date, though?
September 19th.
Yeah.
So, about a week after my birthday.
2 days after my birthday.
Nice.
Yeah. So, I mean, next after that, Call of Duty World War II. And it's weird to say this, but it's kind of nice to be back in World War II.
It is, isn't it?
Like, because there was such a saturation of World War II games for a while there. And then, Call of Duty changed things up, went modern, and then everybody else did.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Battlefield went back to World War I with last year. Now I think Call of Duty is responding to that with World War II. And I don't know. I don't have too much of a connection with the Call of Duty series, but it does kind of feel like a return to form.
It does. I mean, I will say I red-boxed Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, and I was actually pretty impressed by what I played of the single-player campaign, but I also understand that, long-time Call of Duty fans might be done with the whole advanced modern stuff and want to bring it back to its roots, and it certainly seems to deliver on that promise, because, I mean, this is a, really intense World War II shooter. I mean, it was so loud. I was like, wow.
Those flares or the bangs.
The flashbangs, yeah, that was like, wow, it was cool because it got you really into it, but it was a loud trailer.
I might be deaf now, too. I was amazed by it. It's a shooter game. You think, it wasn't actually brown. It was actually colorful.
Yeah.
I was amazed at that. It actually looked pretty good.
Another thing that sort of struck me was how sort of, for a while there at E3s, it was always big. Call of Duty was this big thing, these big events. And it was sort of like any other game this time around, which, again, felt refreshing because we weren't focusing on this one game for so long. And all these exclusives and everything else. So
well, and I think part of that too is that Call of Duty's brand value has dropped a little bit in recent years. It's not quite. It still, of course, is huge, but it doesn't quite command the just exceptional presence that it used to.
Yeah, I get it, but we'll see. I probably won't pick it up. Maybe I'll redbox it and play the single player campaign. I doubt it, but
I mean, sometimes it's nice just to if you just want to play something and just like play a fun single player campaign where you're blowing stuff up. It's fun, but I don't know if this there's nothing that I saw in this Call of Duty World War II trailer that suddenly is going to make me like I want to get a Call of Duty game. Like it's just not.
Yeah. Well, then they switched gears and started talking about VR. So they're still continuing support for VR, and we got the usual, which was Skyrim Vr, and it's hard to say, like, it's really hard to show what makes that different in VR.
I mean, even my note says it's Skyrim in VR. Like, what else can you really say?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's cool, and it's for probably an hour I played Skyrim, I would never play it in VR because it has giant tarantula enemies, and that is a first-person perspective, so it's never something I'm going to play.
Yeah.
But, I mean, hey, that could be cool, and I got to give it to Sony. I actually thought that they would probably not spotlight PlayStation VR this year because they have that pattern where they'll like debut new hardware and then they just kind of move on and forget about it unless it's a breakout success. And I feel like PlayStation VR has been a humble, success, but not like an out of the gate breakout success. But hey, they gave PSVR its own like probably 30-minute, 20-minute segment of the conference.
I'd say about 15.
15, okay, so 15, 20. 15. And that was, I'm glad to see that they didn't just already give up on trying to market it at the conference.
And I mean, we got a few interesting ones in there. I mean, I'm looking at the notes, Star Child, and I can't remember that game at all. Like, what was that about?
I barely remember it. I had nothing to say about it.
Do you remember anything? I don't even remember what the concept was.
Looked different at the time. Let's hope we don't just find out it's one of those Gamergate creators. Like yesterday.
I mean, another one I think that was my issue with VR is like a lot of them weren't super impressive. Like the Inpatient that they showed next intrigued me as a kind of horror game. Like I was almost wondering if it was going to be a first-person Outlast, kind of the mental patient kind of thing. And there was something a little appealing about it. But then there was no gameplay. I had no idea what I was in for. So it's a sort of, again, a maybe type of thing that would be kind of cool in VR.
Yeah, so I don't really know what to think of it, but it could be that kind. It seems like the kind of unsettling, creepy experience that would probably benefit from VR. But it's just hard to say how hyped we should actually be. And also, I don't think anyone sitting around this mic right now even owns a PlayStation VR. So I don't know if I'd go buy a PSVR for anything I saw here. But but again, I'm glad that it's still continuing to get like high-profile support for the people who did buy it, day one, and made that investment.
Stuff to play.
Yeah.
Just quickly going through here before we got Monsters of the Deep, which is a Final Fantasy 15 fishing VR game.
Game of the year.
That was just like, okay, we already got the Kingdom Hearts 3 trailer at the Orchestra, and I get that. But I wanted one thing from Square at this conference, and that was a new FF7 remake trailer, and we didn't get it.
Mm-hmm.
That honestly, of all the VR games we saw, that Monsters of the Deep nonsense looked like the worst. Like that first-person Noctis fishing. What?
I mean, I like that Final Fantasy 15 is willing to poke fun of itself and be silly.
Yeah.
I haven't played much of 15, but still, I like that silliness aspect to it. But I'm not going to buy a Final Fantasy fishing game.
Honestly, I mean, the tech demo thing they showed last year with Prompto, like I guess first-person shooting, that looked more interesting in an alpha state to me than this did to me finalized.
I think I did hear some reports about it that really wasn't.
It just wasn't working. Okay, I'm not surprised.
Yeah,
I mean, it didn't look that, but this doesn't either. I feel like Square, use whatever time and resources you're using on this and put them towards 7, please.
I mean, it's novel at the very least. I would have expected a first-person fishing game, and it was. I can see it being kind of freaky when the big one comes out.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it is. It's just like, I don't know. I guess because I wanted to see other stuff from Square. I just, when I see that logo, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to get ready. I'm getting in my seat, like, let's do this.
Yeah.
And it was VR FF15 fishing. It's like, okay.
You would think they could do something VR in the car, like chasing monsters on the road.
Something, something is not fishing. I don't know. I have no. I mean, and look, I loved FF15, or at least I liked it a lot. I would have given it a like it a lot on our rating scale, and even I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's just them telling us to go fish.
Yeah, basically.
Yep. Well, there was also Bravo Team, which a shooter, like cover shooter, like I can kind of see that maybe with their friends or something like that moving forward.
And I think they're both. I think that and the Inpatient are both being made by Supermassive Games, which is cool. They got 2 projects coming, but I mean, it looked like a kind of not like a nothing, very generic shooter.
Yeah, nothing really stuck out to me, but. I do feel like they ended strong with the VR because Moss, that one where you're guiding around that mouse, that looks so charming.
That was cool. He was so cute. Mm-hmm. That little mouse was adorable, and so it looked like almost that you're not controlling the mouse directly, but you're manipulating objects in the environment to let him pass through.
And that feels so perfect for VR because you're like looking around the world, trying to figure out the best way to get him around. I can see you getting up, moving, doing stuff, and like maybe even getting in close to see the fight when he's doing his combat. Like, cool.
Yeah, and you saw the reflection of what would be the gamer, sort of with a mask on in the pool of water too. There, so that sort of reference where we thought you might be moving around pieces in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was. I'd say that was the most impressive VR game.
Yeah, of all of them, I would say that was the one I would be most likely, if I had one, I would like check out that demo first. I mean, I don't know if I'd like go out and buy it, but of all the stuff we saw, that was the one that kept my interest the most.
Now, in that game, do you think you have any control over the mouse whatsoever, or you just is it AI?
It's hard to say.
I don't think so. Just because we saw you manipulating the world,
yeah.
And they showed him fighting, but I have a feeling that's passive. I was waiting for some sort of way that you could help him in his fight, but I didn't exactly see anything.
What I had, it reminded me of Tearaway by the Little Big Planet guys, Media Molecule, where you could use your fingers on the back of the PlayStation Vita to actually move around parts of the world.
That was cool, I remember that, yeah.
But in that game, you could control the main character.
Right.
So we'll see. I mean, that's all they showed from VR, but I felt like it was not a bad showing, all things considered. I mean, not great, definitely not enough to make me actually want to get VR, but for those who have it, maybe some interesting things to pick up.
Yeah, for Sony, it's still a reality.
Yeah, there you go. And then, of course, we got God of War. And I enjoyed this. You got a sense of, like, again, the relationship between Kratos and his son. You got some interesting fights. Showed off all the a couple different weapons that Kratos will be able to use, and definite Norse influence as far as everything else. And hey, a giant monster that shows up that he doesn't immediately try to kill. Color me surprised.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, and this is coming from someone who has never cared about God of War, and I think, Kratos' character up to this point has been incredibly dull because he's just angry and, like, he's not a nice person at all, and he's basically blood, carnage, gore. That's what Kratos, anger, rage. I like this new Kratos. I like this emotional touchstone in his character where he's got a son. He's got to protect his son. I love the dialogue between his son and Kratos. Like, I feel like this is not a softer side of Kratos, but a more nuanced and a more three-dimensional version of the character, and a version of the character that I'm actually excited to see where it goes. Like, I have never once cared about God of War, but this is really keeping my interest.
This is the first time he's felt worn down and world-weary from everything else. Before, it was just gung-ho.
It's the first time he's felt like more than just, I'm going to kill everything in sight. Like, and there's that one line toward the end of the trailer, like, he's not your past, he's your son, and he needs his father. And I'm like, okay, there's a theme of like father-son bonding, or the relationship, some dynamic there that interests me as much as the Norse mythology inspired world too.
Yeah.
So,
and it was great seeing his son interact in the combat with his bow and arrow.
Yeah, and I also noticed, at least in the few story elements we saw, that it seems only his son could understand that world serpent. So I wonder if the reason that his son is traveling with him is because Kratos can't communicate with these other beings. Only his son, for whatever reason, can.
Maybe.
Yeah.
A good reason for him to be around. And that world serpent looked so ridiculously huge. I don't think I've seen a character that big in a video game with that scale. And it reminded me of something like Never-Ending Story. Some of the creatures in that one. But yeah, that was pretty impressive in a movie theater type screen for sure.
I'm pretty sure video games are the only context you could say that world serpent looked incredibly huge, and not just. But I have to say, I mean, and of course, it's so easy to repeat this with every game, but those graphics in God of War really were stunning. Like, even beyond the other games we saw. Absolutely stunning.
Oh yeah, Sony, Santa Monica's always been able to just do amazing stuff with their graphics, and God of War 3 still looks amazing to this day.
It does,
and all that. I was really we saw early 2018 release, perfect time for it. I feel like it's going to do really well there.
Yeah.
Horizon sort of showed that as well.
Right.
I really hope it's not going to be called just God of War though. I was waiting for some sort of subtitle or 4 or something like that, and please don't be just God of War.
God of 4?
Yeah, God of 4.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they could call it God of War 4 because I think this is a reboot, and that might be why they're just going
I don't think it's a reboot.
Is it not?
It doesn't seem to be, because they mention his past, so he's definitely created. They have
true,
the pottery that shows him from the original God of War games, like the Greek pottery. So this is not a reboot.
Wow, I thought it had already been reported that it was a reboot.
I don't think so.
Oh, okay, then maybe this is an actual sequel.
All the evidence I see seems to confirm that no reboot,
okay,
as far as I can tell.
He feels a lot older. I mean, worn down.
Well, this is my entry point into the series because I love what they're doing with Kratos as a character. So I'm definitely watching this one.
Yeah, it definitely feels like an entry point. You could easily jump into this and doesn't seem like you need to know what happened.
Right.
Hey, Kratos killed all the Greek gods. There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just listen to that Starbomb song. You'll be set.
There you go. And then, of course, we got to see Detroit Become Human, a new trailer for
Quantic
Dream's new game.
Yeah.
And again, we saw it last time, but this is a better trailer.
It was a lot better trailer this
We got
time.
a better sense of what was going on, and I know they were really pushing the choice angle, but they did it a much better way this time. You could see how that scene where they ran off rather than hid, as they did the next time. That really showed, and you got a better sense of the world and the story, and okay, I can kind of see where they're going with it with this. It doesn't seem as awkward as their previous games, so
yeah,
I'm kind of there with it.
Yeah,
we'll
it's hard.
I'm not sold, but it getting me there.
I feel like with Quantic Dreams games, every time I'm like, okay, they're technically impressive, they look really cool, but they always make me want to just punch something while I'm watching the trailer because I just feel like their trailers they kind of come off as circle jerks, toward themselves, hey, look at this cool game, or look at the choices, look at our features. It's just show us the game you want to show us, and you don't need to, put that in the trailer. It's I don't know, I get annoyed at Quantic Dream's trailer style, but I absolutely agree that this is a much better showcase for Detroit than we saw last year, and I'm loving the theme. I'm getting a very heavy, Deus Ex Human Revolution vibe with, the, human versus android, and of course we're talking about augmented people in Deus Ex, but it's the same general theme, and at what point is a human still a human, and are androids, are they
people
merchandise for humans, or are they more than that? I'm loving the theme.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's definitely a much clearer vision of what the game would be than last year. It felt more like just like a scene from Blade Runner, like if there's individual Blade Runner missions
Yeah.
you have to do.
It's like, what's going on? I don't get this.
But I don't know. I would have liked to play that game from last year too, I think. But this one, from a gamer's perspective, it's probably a better package.
Yeah.
A more solid idea, but
Yeah.
I don't know if... I guess the big concern here, is there any gameplay besides choices?
I mean, Heavy Rain, there wasn't really. I mean, there was a little bit, but...
A little bit. I guess that's true.
Yeah. And I
It
never
was
got to
just
play
choices.
Beyond, so I can't...
didn't bother with that one either, so... I guess that's true. It really is going to come down to the choices and then mimicking actions.
Yeah,
Maybe.
I mean, I feel like there'll be some light gameplay. I think, but I don't think it's gonna. We're not looking like at a hardcore action game here or anything. I think it's mostly going to be a thoughtful, choice-based game. Kind of a slower paced. At least, I mean, if they're making the game that Quantic Dream is known for, they're known for that kind of experience. But maybe they're going to go for something a little action-y this time.
It's hard to say. I think that was Beyond Two Souls where they went
Probably,
a little more
yeah. I kind of
action-y
feel like this is going to be less.
Actually, than that.
And that's fine. I mean, there is a space for games like that. So,
Yeah, it's too bad there is an opportunity to have more action in this game, like when he's jumping onto that police drone or he's in the streets. Obviously, there's some open world parts, but I guess the main focus is story, and I don't know. Even in Mario, every button press is a choice.
yeah, and I guess I'm definitely interested. I just think I get kind of annoyed at how self-important Quantic Dream's games feel. It's like, look at these issues we're tackling. Aren't you excited? Look at those issues. Like, look how important what we're trying to say. It's like let's just play the game and it'll let it speak for itself.
Yeah.
But it does look from a technical standpoint pretty impressive.
Yeah, totally. And then we really only have 2 games left. One is Destiny 2, which I don't think any of us really played did you say you played a little bit of the original?
A little bit,
Tom?
yeah, but
Yeah.
not like Destiny players who threw in like hundreds of hours. No, it's I was impressed by the bad guy in the Destiny 2 trailer. He reminded me though like the bad guy in the original Gears of War.
Oh, a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty thick. Like
I can see that.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like there was a much better story to tell this time around
Yeah.
with Destiny. Like, there was actual purpose behind everything. And I say this as somebody who has not played the original at all. And it just, when I heard it was a lot more MMO-based, I'm like, eh.
I played the alpha, I think, like the first look alpha of Destiny 1, and it was cool, but I mean, it's really what I expected it to be, and it's just not my kind of thing, so Destiny 2 isn't really, doing it for me, but it seems like it's a more story-driven experience for people who are into the series, so we'll see.
That's all I can really say about it.
I will say, I don't think I realized it was coming out as soon as it is. I think it's September, and for some reason I thought that was like early 2018 or like December or something, but it's almost here. So.
Yeah, September, so not too long to wait. So
Yeah.
at least there's a few things here and there.
Yeah.
But again, it's going to be cross-platform. It's just a few exclusive items and other stuff.
Right.
But finally, they ended it off. I wasn't sure what they were going to end it off with. I was like, are they going to do Final Fantasy VII? Of course, no.
Right.
Instead, they ended it off with Insomniac's Spider-Man. And holy crap. Like, Spider-Man is one of my favorite heroes. I was a big fan of him as a kid. Like, I watched the 90s cartoon. Then, of course, the Sam Raimi films came out. And those were really cool, at least until 3. And then, I'm also a huge fan of Spectacular Spider-Man. And that's probably the best animated Spider-Man there. And this just, like, I'm still not a fan of the costume. Costume kind of sucks.
You don't like the costume? Okay.
Nah, it's a big white spider symbol. I don't know. It's not doing anything for me. But that gameplay, like it. Obviously, you can make some really easy comparisons to Arkham. That's really easy to do as far as the stealth, the action, choices and whatnot. But here's the thing: Arkham works, and it might feel like that, or it might be like that, come off that way. But it's still, this is Spider-Man. He's doing very different things as far as those kinds of prompts. And like the traps you could set, all that stuff. Like, I thought this was an excellent gameplay demo, and like it was, I was interested because of Insomniac, and now I'm like, I want this game.
I was really impressed by Spider-Man, especially from a visual standpoint, and I agree, like, it very much looked like Arkham-inspired combat, which is fine. I mean, that worked for that series. And you could just see the way Spider-Man moves around. Like, Batman's attacks are heavy, and not slow, but heavy and powerful and crunchy feeling. Whereas Spider-Man, he's like lithe and jumping around, and, he's flying everywhere. And so you can definitely get the sense that you're playing as a different character. It seems like he feels like you're playing as Spider-Man, which is really cool. The other parts, though, like the QTEs, like they look basically like glorified QuickTime events, where like Spider-Man's running up the crane to stop it from falling, and as visually awesome as it looked, from a gameplay standpoint, it looks like you're basically like, press X to awesome, basically. Like press X to Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And it's like that part of it, I'm not sure.
I'm willing to give that a pass, if
Sure.
only because this is obviously a big set piece moment.
Right.
Like, this was crazy action packed, like more
Yeah.
so than some of the movies.
That's true, yeah.
Oh, what it reminded me of at the end is, remember the original trailer for the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie, but he caught the helicopter in between the World Trade Center. They just made sure to put it lower to the ground so it didn't have the same connection.
Right, right.
It's definitely technically impressive when he'd be flying through the buildings and stuff, and you think, oh, those are empty, and then to crash into a building, and it's completely a completely filled office with no sort of loading or slowdown whatsoever.
That was crazy, yeah. Like, there was no loading, and the fact that, you go into the office building, run through, jump into the helicopter,
Yeah.
that was impressive
and
stuff.
the whole part where he was web slinging after them, that seemed like it was all real time. Nothing else to really go by that. And combat was just fluid. I liked how, even as we were watching the combat, you could see the options available, like, well, how he threw the sandbags at the one guy, but that option was also kind of available during the regular mooks.
Right, right.
The sheer amount of stealth in it, or sort of pulling back that crane handle, or not a crane handle, but just a construction handle to whip back and hit the guys.
Yes.
That was cool.
That was great.
And for a second, that was a cool combo. He was about to, like, fight that thug and push him off the building. I'm like, wow, Spider-Man gonna push this guy off a building? And he caught him with his webbing and threw him back onto the roof. I'm like, that's so cool.
Yeah, it's
like,
total Spider-Man thing.
Yeah, I was like, wow, he's just gonna push this guy off the building. Oh, no, he didn't. Okay, cool.
And you got the quips, but it's not constant quips as well.
Right.
And it's really hard to hear. Like, it was very booming in the theater, but I swear that was Josh Keaton playing
Possibly.
Spider-Man, who did the voice in Spectacular Spider-Man. Basically, to me, the quintessential Spider-Man actor at this point.
Right.
And it was voice actor, at least. And I really hope they got him for this.
Yeah.
I know some Spider-Man fans that will be over the hill for this game, man.
Nice.
I'm like, again, the Insomniac pedigree brought me here, but the really good Spider-Man action is keeping me.
Well, the one thing I hope they nail, and I have no reason to believe they won't, but if we are to assume that this is an open-ish world game that you can explore New York to a degree, like the Arkham games to it, like Arkham City, I hope they nail the web swinging.
Yeah.
Like, that's they have to nail that perfectly. Just because I think it was Spider-Man 2 back on. Yeah. Well, I don't know what system
PS2,
it was.
I think.
PS2 or something, but there was a Spider-Man game, I think it was 2, that was lauded for absolutely nailing the
Spider-Man
feeling
2.
of web swinging. And that is such a unique mechanic and a movement style for any superhero. I hope they nail it. That's what I want.
Well, I believe it was Treyarch that did that.
Was it?
I
Okay.
think.
I think so. Treyarch, yeah.
Well, Treyarch, they did Tony Hawk, but this is Insomniac. I think Insomniac would be more capable at doing it than them, so I think there's a pretty good chance.
Yeah.
It's hard to say, but I mean, we saw a little bit of the web swinging, but it was hard to really gauge at that point. I mean, the wall crawling looked awesome, like how you could run up, and they've done that in past games as well, but I don't know, it was something... probably because of the visuals, just how in the moment you were, and really, like, I was fully invested in this gameplay bit.
Yeah, no, I'm just looking forward to just moving around as Spider-Man. That's just it's just fun. Like you said, all the running up walls and swinging around. It feels like that's going to be a lot of fun in this game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and with that, I wonder. Obviously, the game won't be able to keep up that pace of the demo or what we saw. But you were talking about how it looked like Spider-Man was going to kill a guy. Maybe you get a score at the end of missions, like to be more like Spider-Man. You save people, stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah. Now that I think about it, Spider-Man doesn't have the Batman code. He has no problems with.
He doesn't usually kill guys.
Oh, he doesn't usually. Okay.
He usually tries to save everybody. So
Okay.
that sort of thing. So I don't think
Right.
he's not known for killing.
By the way, I totally don't believe that Batman in none of those Arkham games
killed anybody.
The way he fights those thugs, there's no way some of them haven't died.
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
no way.
At least I can look at the guys Spider-Man beats up and like, oh, because those guys have some broken bones, but they're fine.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think it's all the way to end the show, and I almost feel like the opposite of the Microsoft conference.
Yeah,
where
right.
subjectively, I really liked this. This was
Yeah.
a really great showing. They were quick, they were on the point, they just game. And I like that. But the problem was it was all old stuff. But the other side of that coin is that it's old stuff that I still really want to play.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll start off with sort of the ranking system here as far as our grades. Subjectively, I'm going to give it a B+. A B+. I feel pretty solid about that. I wish there was a few more new things to look forward to, but as far as what they were showing was good. Objectively, I'm split between a C+ and a B-. I think I'm going to go be generous and be a B- because the new stuff they did show was pretty cool, other than VR didn't do much for me, but that's my own personal taste.
Be generous.
Well, my rating for the PlayStation conference is X. No. No, so I'm feel a lot like how you do, Derek, is from a personal standpoint, these are games I want to play more than the ones of the Xbox conference. So from that standpoint, I got to give it a B+. I agree with you. But in terms of, well, I mean, yeah, I guess I should elaborate on that. So a B+ for me, there are games I want to play, a few I don't. The PSVR stuff, unfortunately, as much as I appreciate that they're still supporting it, and you know, for the fans who did pick it up day one, it didn't do anything for me. I was disappointed by the lack of no Square Enix, major no Square Enix stuff. So yeah, there's stuff I want to play. I'm excited. I think it was a solid B+ for me personally. But in terms of an objective viewpoint and how I feel it stacks up against the Xbox conference, I'm actually going to not be generous and give it a C+.
Okay.
C to C+. I'm surprised. Usually we're having a very different conversation right now, which is, Xbox was cool, but Sony knocked it out of the park. Not this year. I feel like this is a treading water year for Sony.
Yeah.
Good stuff, but I just feel like they didn't really come out swinging like they do in previous years, so I gotta hand it to Xbox. I think they had the stronger conference this year.
I agree. But Tom?
With me, first of all, I found it weird at the beginning. They said, it's all about the games. Oh yeah, we do 4K and HDR.
Yeah.
It's like, subtle Microsoft jab there.
Even the Wi-Fi password was 4K gaming.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Just trying to nail that point home.
Right.
But in video games, like let's say like a game like Bayonetta, this is just an example. If the difficulty increases, you can't just keep making a game more difficult and have it feel like a level of progression. Sometimes you have to bring the difficulty down and go back up again. Last year's Sony press conference was so good in terms of like what was there, like Shenmue and like Final Fantasy VII Remake.
That was 2 years ago.
Oh, 2 years ago?
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah, that was the year
that
of
one
dreams.
in my mind,
Yeah.
in my dreams. That one was so good. Compared to, so for me, this one, I would give it a B because there's a lot of stuff I want to play in terms of my own personal subjective view. But as comparing it to that one in the past and how a lot of these games still are 2018, it's just kind of like dreams, but we've seen them before. I'm going to give it a C in terms of conference shows.
All right.
Like
Sure.
it was pretty good, innovative in terms of the stuff happening on the side of the stage, but in the end, it's all about games, and it's just not quite there this year compared to other years.
Although I will say that in this year's favor, I did like the format. They instead of having like a thing after this time or like no games at all, they actually had a mixer before where you could go play some new upcoming games for like a couple hours, and then they funneled you in to the conference, and then you're done. There's nothing happening after. So I actually preferred that format, and I hope they go with it again. And it was nice getting to play games like Dissidia NT and like East 8 before having to going on to the E3 show floor and waiting for them.
Yeah, it was a nice way to pass the time rather than stand around and eat and drink.
Right. And yeah, free food's always nice.
Yeah, exactly.
And afterwards, I love not doing discussions at midnight.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
also good. That's also good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that's basically our feelings on the PlayStation press conference, and I feel like it was interesting. And one more to go. Tomorrow is all about Nintendo, so it is time. So, of course, be sure to join us for that. We're going to be covering Nintendo like we always do. Prepare your sub boxes, whatever you have to do, and we're coming for you.
Yep.
But yeah, thank you guys for listening, and of course, be sure to subscribe to GameXplain for more E3 2017 coverage and other things gaming as well. Until then, bye.